Year 2, Week 13, tickets punched. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to another DNS address. Ladies and gentlemen, the regular season is essentially in the books, and Week 13 did not disappoint. Georgia Tech completed a perfect season, 12-0. Georgia Southern and South Florida both reached 11 wins. Troy got back on track and climbed back into the rankings. Sacramento State finishes 8-4. Texas State completed one of the wildest starter rounds of year 2 and punched a ticket to a conference championship game. We are now officially looking at titles for DNS teams. ACC, American, Sun Belt, MAC, and Pac-12. 5 conference championship appearances, and 4 of those games featuring DNS programs entering with at least 8 wins. Meanwhile, John Valerio scored 6 touchdowns in one game. 6. At this point, I'm not sure Old Dominion needs a playbook. Just hand him the football, get out of his way. Week 14 also is going to give us Army versus Navy. Then the championships begin. The ticket has been punched, though. Let's get into it. Our headline of the week is Georgia Tech finishes perfect. Number 19, Georgia traveled to number 2, Georgia Tech, with one final opportunity to ruin perfection. The Yellow Jackets said no and win 38-31. They finished the regular season 12-0 perfect. Quincy Clutts had to work for this one. 31 completions on 42 attempts, 441 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw 3 picks. So that's not a flawless performance. It was something more important, though, a winning one. Malik Shaw caught 7 passes for 120 yards and a touchdown. Manuel Addison also added 7 receptions for 97 yards and another score. The running game was quieter than usual. Kuma rushed for 58 yards. Alexander added 47 and a touchdown. And so Georgia Tech leaned heavily on Clutts. And despite the turnovers, he did deliver 441 yards in the biggest regular season game of the year. The defense added 4 sacks. Georgia Tech finishes 12-0, still number 2 in the country. And now the Yellow Jackets head to the ACC Championship game. Waiting for them, Stanford. 12 games, 12 wins. Georgia Tech has done everything asked for. Now comes the postseason, and the goal is no longer simply perfection. It's hardware. Georgia Southern punches its ticket. Number 14, Georgia Southern traveled to Appalachian State, needing one more victory before championship week. The Eagles handled business 41-10. Bryan also completed 13 passes. Georgia Southern did not need much from the passing game, though. This one was built on the ground and through defense. J.J. Bradley rushed for 2 touchdowns. Tyrese Woodgate rushed for 2 more. Theo Todd added 64 yards, and then the secondary came to start creating offense. Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. intercepted a pass, returned it 69 yards to the 1. He got ran down. It happens. You know, you don't do all that running and get tackled at the 1 though. We are absolutely reviewing the conditioning program though for the Eagles. Aaron Scott Jr. finished the job the next time though. Georgia Southern got a chance. He had a 62-yard pick 6, no stopping at the 1, touchdown. The Eagles won by 31, finished the regular season 11-1. Georgia Southern moves up to number 13, and now we get the rematch. Sun Belt Championship, number 24, Troy at number 13, Georgia Southern. The first meeting, Georgia Southern 50, Troy 42. 92 points combined, defensive touchdowns, a 56-yard field goal, and somehow a safety on a kick return. But they get to do it again, and a trophy is included at this time. South Florida sends a message. Army traveled to number 5, South Florida. The Bulls apparently decided Army-Navy week could start 1 week earlier. South Florida wins 55-3, 55-3. Michael Van Buren Jr. threw 3 touchdowns. Henry Hasselback added another one. Joe Jackson rushed for 23 times for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shelton Sampson Jr. had himself another ridiculous afternoon as well. 14 receptions, 175 yards, 4 touchdowns. South Florida's offense continues to create problems from everywhere, but the Bulls were not done scoring. Fortenberry had an interception, returned 71 yards for a touchdown. Jaquan Smith returned a kickoff 96 yards for another score. Offense, defense, special teams. Again, everybody gets involved. South Florida finishes the regular season 11-1. The Bulls moved to number 4 in the country, and they are headed to the American Championship. That game will be number 9, Tulane versus number 4, South Florida. Top 10s, conference title. potential playoff implications, and a South Florida offense featuring two of the top three players in the Heisman race. This will be a heavyweight fight. John Valerio, though, for Old Dominion, scores 6 touchdowns in a 42-17 victory. Ricky Burns threw for 249. He did not throw a touchdown, and he was intercepted once. That is because there's apparently only one person allowed to touch the ball for Old Dominion when they're scoring touchdowns. That his name is John Valerio. 24 carries, 164 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. Yes, that's 6. He also caught 8 more passes for 78 yards. It's 242 from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns. Named Offensive Player of the Week for the nation. Again, how do you even contribute and distribute the 6 rushing touchdowns? At some point, the defense has to know exactly what's coming. Grillo is getting the ball correct, and then he's going to score anyways. Old Dominion's defense did intercept 2 passes, forced a fumble, and added a sack. The Monarchs finish 8-4. There will be no conference championship appearance this year for them, but Valerio remains the top player in the Heisman race, and in his final argument required an exclamation point. 6 touchdowns should provide quality. Troy gets right before the rematch. Number 25 Troy traveled to Southern Miss, needing to stop a 2-game slide. The Trojans did more than that. Troy wins 48-27. Woodrop completed 15 of 17 passes for 165 yards and a touchdown. He's very efficient. But this was vintage Troy football. Gavin Griffin, 18 carries, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devin Roche, 16 carries, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. Together, 337 on the ground, 4 touchdowns. That is Troy football. Line up, hand the ball off, and keep asking the defense whether they're tired yet. TJ Lott did add 79 receiving yards. Troy improves to 9-3 and moves to number 24 in the nation. Now the Trojans get something every competitor loves, a second chance. Georgia Southern was able to beat Troy earlier this year, 50-42. Now Troy gets the rematch for the Sun Belt Championship. No third meeting, no excuses. Settle it. Texas State completes the comeback. This might be the story of the year here. Texas State started year 2 0-4. 0 wins, 4 losses. The season looked like it was heading nowhere. Then the Bobcats started winning. They fought all the way back to 5-6. That meant the final regular season at Fresno was simple. Win and become bowl eligible. Lose and finish 5-7. Texas State wins 37-34 and punches a ticket to the conference championship game. Riesing threw for 195 yards and a touchdown. But Texas State found its answer on the ground. Tyrone Browning carried the ball 31 times for 243 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Pay added 87 rushing yards and 2 scores. He also caught 4 passes for 39 yards and another touchdown. That was 126 total and 3 touchdowns for Coop. The defense recorded 4 sacks and interception of forced fumble. Texas State finishes 6-6, bowl eligible, but apparently that's not enough because now Pac-12 championship, Texas State versus number 20, Boise State. Oh, by the way, Texas State already beat Boise once this season. 23-17. Now can they do it again for the conference title? From 0-4 to playing for a championship, that is college football. Sacramento State is playing for a title. Sacramento State traveled to UMass and closed the regular season in dominant fashion. The Hornets win 45-7. Babcock was able to throw for 227 and a touchdown. McKinney added 46 and another touchdown. Godley rushed for 98 and 2 scores while adding 70 receiving yards. Rainey added 2 more rushing touchdowns. Jason Moses caught 7 passes for 90 yards. The defense was able to record 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Nothing complicated here. Sacramento State showed up, handled business, and moved to 8-4. Now the Hornets are headed into the postseason with something much bigger waiting. That MAC championship, Buffalo, Sacramento State. Sacramento State began the year with a quarterback problem, turnovers, uncertainties. Now 8 wins, bowl eligible, and playing for a conference championship. This is a season worth appreciating. Mississippi State comes up 1 win short. Ole Miss traveled to Mississippi State with the Bulldogs' bowl hopes hanging in the balance. Win, go bowling, lose, season over. Ole Miss wins 21-16. Max Coolidge, though, threw for 302 and 2 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions, though. 4 in a 5-point game. There is the story. Marquise Johnson was outstanding. He had 17 receptions, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. 17 catches in a rivalry game is an unbelievable individual performance. But Mississippi State could not overcome the turnovers. The defense did its part, 4 sacks, 1 pick. The Bulldogs had opportunities. They just gave too many away. Mississippi State finishes 5-7, 1 victory short of bowl eligibility. That one will sting, especially because it came against the rival. Year 2 ends without a postseason game. Now we have to work towards year 3. Northern Illinois ends with a rough one. New Mexico traveled to Northern Illinois and won 52-16. Brayshawn Brown threw for 270 and a touchdown. He also threw 5 picks. 2 of them went the other direction for touchdowns. One of the pick 6 traveled 75 yards. The other went for 36. That's 14 points handed directly to the opponent. Anthony Coolidge rushed for 75 yards. Johnny Tongues added 54. Karagarba caught a touchdown. The defense was able to record 5 sacks, but there was no surviving 7 defensive points twice, on top of 3 more interceptions as well. Northern Illinois finishes the season 3-9. It was a difficult year. There were some encouraging stretches. There were some games where the offenses exploded, some games where the defense exploded, but consistency never arrived. That becomes the mission for year 3. Central Michigan's late run ends. Central Michigan traveled to Eastern Michigan looking to continue its late season turnaround. Eastern Michigan wins 23-9. Quentin Sneed finished 4 for 7 with 51 yards. Geno Sheath added 87 yards but threw an interception. Greg Espangio led the rushing attack with 62 yards and a touchdown. Trev Moore added 86 total yards. The defense recorded 2 sacks and a safety, but 9 points wasn't enough. Central Michigan finishes 3-8. The final record did not tell the whole story. I actually think Central Michigan finished, so 3-9. The final record did not tell the whole story. The team started 0-6. They won 3 of 4. The season did not end where they wanted, but the second half showed something worth carrying forward. Our stock ups for this week: number 2, Georgia Tech was 12-0, perfect regular season. Nothing else to be said there. Number 13, Georgia Southern, 11 wins, dominant finish, Sun Belt Championship appearance. Number 4, South Florida, 11 wins, top 4 national ranking. 2 of the top 3 Heisman candidates, a championship berth is appearing as well. Texas State started 0-4, finished 6-6, beat Boise State again for the championship. This is one of the stories for year 2. Sacramento State, 8 wins in a MAC championship appearance. The Hornets have come a long way since their early season turnover problems. Our Need More Film of the Week: Mississippi State's turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a 5-point rivalry loss. It's the difference between bowl eligibility and going home. Northern Illinois' ball security, 5 interceptions, 2 of those being pick 6. It's almost impossible to overcome. And Central Michigan's offense, 9 points in the season finale after the strong second half run. Year 3 needs more consistency on the side of the football. Week 13 honors our National Offensive Player of the Week, as mentioned before, John Valerio from Old Dominion. Our Defensive Player of the Week is cornerback Aaron Scott Jr. from Georgia Southern. He had an interception and pick 6 for 62 yards. In the rivalry game where Georgia Southern needed to close the regular season strong, Scott helped put it away. Our Built Not Given award this week goes to Texas State again, and this time there's no debate. Go back to September, 0-4. The season looked finished before it even started. Texas State could have folded. Instead, the Bobcats went 6-2 the rest of the way. They beat number 14 Boise State. They fought their way to 5-6. They traveled to Fresno with bowl eligibility on the line and won. Now they're not merely bowl eligible, they're playing for a conference championship, from 0-4 to a Pac-12 championship game. That was not luck. That was not given to them. They built their way into that with the season, one win at a time. That's built, not given. Our Heisman watch does not change. John Valerio, Joe Jackson, and Shelton Sampson Jr. This week is week 14. It is Army versus Navy. Before we go to championship week, college football gives us one of the greatest traditions. Army, Navy. No complicated playoff implication needed. No conference standings necessary. Just one of the oldest rivalries in the sport. 2 service academies, 1 football game, and a rivalry built on something much larger than Saturday afternoons. Week 14 belongs to Army Navy. Then we hand out our trophies. Our DNS Conference Championship slate, and looking at the lineup, it's the ACC Championship, Stanford versus number 2 Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech enters 12-0, 1 win away from the ACC title, and potentially another step towards the college football playoffs. American Championship, number 9 Tulane versus number 4 South Florida. 2 top 10 teams. South Florida enters 11-1. Conference title, national implications, Joe Jackson, Shelton Sampson Jr. This one has everything. Sun Belt Championship, number 24 Troy at number 13 Georgia Southern. The rematch. Georgia Southern won the first meeting this year, 50-42. Now it is for a trophy. It's enough said. Our MAC Championship, Buffalo versus Sacramento State. Sacramento State enters 8-4 with an opportunity to finish year 2 as a conference champ. Our Pac-12 Championship, Texas State versus number 20 Boise. Texas State started 0-4, already defeated Boise once. Now gets them again with a championship on the line. This may not be a probable title game appearance in the entire dynasty, but it is one. Around the dynasty as well, Arkansas State finishes the regular season 2-10. We continue keeping Coach Babcock in our thoughts and hope to have him back with us when the time is right. The league will always be here, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, the tickets have been punched. Georgia Tech finished the regular season 12-0. Georgia Southern and South Florida finished 11-1. Troy's back on track in the rankings at 9-3. Sacramento State reached 8 wins. Old Dominion reached 8 wins. Texas State completed the climb from 0-4 to bowl eligibility and somehow kept climbing all the way into a conference championship game. Gorilla scored 6 touchdowns, remains the Heisman frontrunner, and now the regular season gets us to the trophies. ACC, American, Sun Belt, MAC, and Pac-12 championships. 5 opportunities for DNS programs to bring home hardware. But first, Army Navy, a reminder that before the playoff rankings, before the trophies, before the Heismans, there are traditions in college football that mean something beyond wins and losses. Then championship week arrives, and when it does, no more resumes, no more projections, no more what ifs. 60 minutes, win the ball game, raise the trophy, and as they say in college football, championships are remembered forever. The regular season built a resume, now finish the job. In the Department of Natural Selection, you select, we collect, built, not given.